Once, in a town that never seemed to rest, people filled the streets every day chasing their own dreams of success. Some believed success came from luck. Others believed it belonged only to those born into wealth. But those who truly understood life knew something deeper. A person's future is shaped by the way they see themselves. The thoughts a person carries quietly shape the direction their life will take. In that same town stood a large street market that seemed alive from the moment the sun rose until the moment darkness covered the sky. Merchants shouted loudly to attract customers. Buyers moved between the stalls bargaining over prices. The smell of spices, fruit, bread, and dust filled the warm air. People rushed past each other with busy minds and hurried footsteps, each one focused only on their own concerns. At the entrance of this crowded market, beside a cracked stone wall where shadows gathered during the afternoon heat, a young man spent most of his days sitting quietly on the ground. His clothes were worn and faded, carrying the marks of a difficult life. His shoes were torn and thin, barely protecting his feet from the rough ground beneath him. His face still carried the youth of someone who should have had many opportunities ahead. Yet his eyes held the quiet exhaustion of someone who had already struggled far too long. Every morning, he arrived at the same place before the market became crowded. He sat silently, watching the vendors prepare their stalls and the first customers begin to arrive. As the hours passed, he stretched out his hand to those who walked near him. Sometimes someone would drop a small coin into his hand without even looking at him. Sometimes a vendor might give him a piece of fruit that could not be sold anymore. But most people walked past him as if he did not exist at all. Hundreds of footsteps passed him every day. Voices rose and faded around him. Laughter, arguments, and bargaining filled the air. Yet in the middle of all that life and movement, the young man remained almost invisible. Day after day, the same routine repeated itself. Morning brought hope, afternoon brought exhaustion, evening brought silence, and each night he left the market with only a few coins in his pocket and the quiet feeling that life had placed him far behind everyone else. One afternoon, when the market was particularly crowded and the sun burned hot above the rooftops, a wealthy customer walked through the entrance of the market. His presence immediately drew attention. His clothes were elegant and clean. His shoes were polished. Several merchants greeted him respectfully as he passed their stalls. The young man noticed him approaching and slowly stood up. As the wealthy man walked past, the young man stretched out his hand and spoke in a quiet voice. "Sir, please help me with some money." The wealthy man stopped walking. He looked at the young man carefully. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The noise of the market continued around them, but between the two men there was only silence. Finally, the rich man asked calmly, "Why should I give you money?" The young man lowered his eyes. "Because I am poor," he answered softly. The rich man shook his head slightly. "Being poor is not a reason for someone else to give you money." The young man looked confused and hurt. "I have nothing," he said quietly. "I have nothing to offer." The rich man gently gestured toward the busy market around them. "Look around you," he said. "The fruit seller gives fruit. The baker gives bread. The tailor gives clothes. Every person here gives something in return for what they receive. That is how life works." Then he looked directly into the young man's eyes and said words that would stay in his mind long after the moment ended. "If you want people to give you something, you must also give something in return." The young man felt his chest tighten as tears slowly filled his eyes. "But sir, I'm just a poor man. What could someone like me possibly offer?" The rich man paused for a moment. Then he spoke quietly. "That is something only you can discover." With those words, he turned and continued walking into the crowded market, disappearing among the stalls and voices of the busy street. The young man remained standing there long after the rich man had gone. The coins in his hand suddenly felt heavier than before. That evening, when the market slowly emptied and the merchants began packing their goods, the young man remained sitting beside the same wall where he had spent countless days before. But this time, something inside his mind refused to rest. The rich man's words repeated again and again. If you want people to give you something, you must also give something in return. Night slowly covered the market. One by one, the lights disappeared.
The voices faded. The streets became silent. But the young man did not move. He sat there in the darkness thinking, what could he offer? He had no money, no goods, no tools, no business, nothing. Hours passed while the cold night air moved through the empty market streets. The young man stared at the ground, searching through every memory he had, hoping to find something, anything that he could offer the world. Then, somewhere deep inside his memory, a small, forgotten thought began to return. When he was younger, before life had become so difficult, he used to draw simple pictures on pieces of paper. They were never perfect drawings. Many of them were rough and uneven, but drawing had once been something he enjoyed quietly. The thought stayed in his mind as the night continued. Slowly, an idea began to form. Early the next morning, before the market became crowded, the young man found a small piece of paper and a short pencil someone had thrown away. Sitting beside the same stone wall, he began to draw. The drawing was not beautiful. The lines were shaky, the shapes were uneven, but it was something he had created. Later that morning, a woman passing through the market dropped a coin into his hand. The young man hesitated for a moment, then handed her the drawing. The woman looked surprised. "For me?" she asked. The young man nodded shyly. "It is not very good, but it is all I have to offer." The woman smiled softly and kept the drawing. That small moment stayed in the young man's mind for the rest of the day. So he drew another picture, then another. Whenever someone gave him a coin or a piece of food, he handed them one of his drawings. At first, people seemed confused. Some laughed gently at the strange exchange, but many people kept the drawings. Some even stopped to look at them carefully. The next day, he drew more pictures. They were still simple and clumsy, but something unexpected began to happen. When he simply asked people for money, most ignored him. But when he offered a drawing, people stopped. They looked, they smiled, and many of them gave him coins. Slowly, he began to notice a pattern. The more he offered something in return, the more people were willing to give. For the first time in a long while, hope quietly returned to his heart. Each evening, he used the small coins he earned to buy pieces of paper and slightly better pencils from nearby shops. Day after day, his drawing slowly improved. The lines became steadier, the shapes became clearer. Soon he was drawing birds, houses, trees, and scenes of the busy market itself. Some people began asking him to draw their faces. Others asked if they could buy several drawings to take home. The young man who once sat quietly begging near the entrance of the market slowly became known as the quiet artist who created beautiful drawings on simple pieces of paper. Then, one afternoon, several months later, something unexpected happened. The same wealthy customer who had once refused to give him money returned to the market. The young man recognized him immediately. With excitement and nervousness filling his heart, he quickly stood up and walked toward him. "Sir," he called. The rich man turned around. "Yes?" The young man held out one of his drawings. "Sir, today I finally have something to offer in return." The rich man looked at the drawing carefully. It showed the busy market, filled with merchants, customers, and sunlight spreading across the stalls. A smile slowly appeared on his face. He took out some money and handed it to the young man. Then he accepted the drawing. "You have truly understood something very important. You are no longer someone who simply asks for help." He looked at him with quiet respect. "You have become a businessman."
Those words stayed in the young man's heart long after the rich man walked away. For the rest of that day, he could not stop thinking about them. A businessman. The idea felt almost unbelievable. For a long time, he had believed he was just a poor man surviving on the kindness of strangers. But now something had changed. He was no longer begging. He was offering. He was creating. He was trading. That realization quietly became the turning point of his life. From that day forward, he worked harder than ever. Every morning he practiced drawing. Every evening he studied the shapes of buildings, the expressions on people's faces, and the movement of the market around him. His drawings became better and better. Soon, the place where he once sat begging became a small stall where people came specifically to buy his art. Months passed, then years. One afternoon, in the same busy market where everything had begun, two well-dressed men happened to meet near the entrance. They greeted each other politely. One of them looked carefully at the other. "Forgive me," he said, "but you look familiar. Have we met before?" The other man smiled. "Yes, we met here once before, many years ago." The first man studied his face again. Then suddenly his eyes widened with surprise. "Wait, you are the young man who used to sit here asking for money." The former beggar laughed warmly. "Yes, that was me." He gently gestured toward a nearby shop filled with framed drawings and paintings. "But today, things are very different. I now run an art business here in the market, and I am preparing to open another shop in another town." The rich man looked at him with amazement. "That is incredible," he said. "What changed your life so completely?" The artist smiled quietly. "One simple idea," he replied, "that if someone wants to receive something from the world, they must first be willing to offer something to it." The two men shook hands once again, this time not as strangers, but as equals. And in that moment, a powerful truth quietly revealed itself. The future of a person is shaped by how that person sees themselves. If someone believes they are small, they will continue living a small life. But the moment they recognize the potential inside them, everything can begin to change. That young man once stood in a crowded market with nothing but empty hands and a broken spirit. People passed him without noticing him. Some pitied him, others ignored him. But the day he discovered that value must be given before value is received, his life changed forever. He stopped seeing himself as a beggar. He started seeing himself as a creator. And the moment his mindset changed, his future changed too. So, remember this lesson. Do not limit yourself. Do not define your future by your current situation. Look deeper inside yourself and discover what you can offer to the world. Because sometimes, the only thing standing between poverty and success is the way you see yourself. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like this video and comment below what lesson you learned from this story. And most importantly, share this story with someone who might need this inspiration today. Someone out there might be one idea away from changing their entire life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.